For the venues we chose on this 20th anniversary thing, we had 6 shows, and we wanted them to be special, I guess, you know, and the benchmark was the Albert Hall, because that was one of the first shows that we got booked. So the other shows we tried to try to find a venue similar to that, you know, which is impossible, to be honest, but we did find a few nice places. But we wanted them to have some history, like the one we played in Germany, in Essen, is one of the oldest cinemas they have, if not the oldest. Circus in Stockholm is a really cozy, nice place, similar to the Albert Hall, but much smaller, you know. But generally we just wanted them to be fairly big, so we could put a lot of people in there. Because we only had 6 shows, we were thinking people were going to travel to see this, which I think they did, you know. But the original plan for this 20th anniversary was not a tour. It was like you know, hanging out in a pub in Stockholm, you know, just having a few drinks with your friends, because we never celebrated anything. We never had a release party, never had an anniversary party or anything. So we're planning to do something, just gather up some friends, have a few drinks, maybe we'll play a song or two, and it kind of escalated into some of the biggest shows we've ever done. Well, when we played the Royal Alber Hall, there was a lot of things going through my head. During the show, I didn't really think about Deep Purple and Camel and all those bands that I loved that played there, you know. It was just like I tried to take it all in, you know. You look up and it seemed so massive to me, you know. It was unreal. I remember I was just playing and I was like, wow, it's just crazy. But before, you know, once we landed, once the show was confirmed, I got a bit nervous, you know. You want to make, you know, just want to make it so memorable that it's, I don't know, you're afraid to kind of fuck it all up, if you know what I mean. You know, you want it to be great. But it was one of the greatest shows I think we ever done. Maybe not playing-wise, but it was amazing. Nothing short of amazing. Well, the fans, they mean a lot to us. Of course, we depend on them, you know, that's just how it is, you know. So we always take our time with them, you know. The meet and greets that we did on the 20th anniversary show, I think was a very, at first I was like, I'm not sure if I'm into the idea because it feels a bit constructed. But we agreed on it, and I think it was great, actually, because we got to spend a lot more time with them than if we did a regular signing session, because that just feels like a factory thing. You barely look up. People are just in line and just signing, yeah, there you go, fuck off, you know, you barely see him, you know.
I just met him outside just before the show, and we chatted a bit, and he's a really good guy. I mean, I've met him several times at other shows as well, and really loves the fans.
But this was a little bit of a thing. We kind of spread out in the room where we were at and just let them come up to us, ask us something, and hang out, take the pictures, and sign the stuff and everything. And I think it went down really good, really well. You know, people seemed to really enjoy it, you know, and they were thanking us. And I thought it was a bit special, actually. Much better than I expected, much better. Well, it's important to have like a family feeling on tour with the people you work with. For us in the band, it's kind of easy because we're mates anyways, you know. We hang out. They're the only friends I got left, pretty much, you know. So we get along great, you know. I think we're all a bit normal in a way and a bit strange. You have to be a bit odd in order to do this, I think. Mendes, Martin Mendes, the bass player, has been in the band now since 98. Has it 12, 13 years or something like that. And he's a rock, you know, he's a mountain, you know. I feel like he's my right hand in a way. But he wasn't always like that. He used to be a complete pain in the ass, you know. He didn't say much, but he was just, you know, so it wasn't together at all. It was just like all over the place. But now he's, especially I think since he became a dad, since he had his son, he just shaped up, and he's really on top of things, you know. I trust him with my life, to be honest. So he's a really good guy, and everybody likes him, you know. Axe, our drummer, is really nice guy, you know, good friend of mine and fantastic drummer. But he has, I don't know, he's got some type of ADHD or something like that. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with his personality, but it did flood four floors in a posh Manhattan hotel because he turned all the taps on and just went to bed. And it's not the first time he'd done stuff like that. When I called him up to offer him the job in the band, he said, "Can I call you back because the flat is on fire?" So he's, you know, I love all of them to death, you know, but it's like sometimes they're just impossible to deal with, you know. Paris is probably the most normal one, together with me, I would have to say. He's genuine, very honest, you know, and he's probably the least pretentious guy I ever met in my life, you know. He's from this part of Sweden where everybody's just like, they might be the best in the world at what they do, but they're like, oh, you know, it's nothing, whatever, you know. But he's really trustworthy. He can be a bit moody sometimes. He looks moody sometimes, like. And Frederick is the new guy, is the latest addition, and he also got a very big heart, you know, very friendly guy, and you instantly like him, I think. I don't think he has lots of hidden agendas. He loves to play guitar and drink beer, you know, and he loves metal, you know. So I think he's a pretty simple guy, you know, in that sense. You know, all of us are, I guess. But he's really, you get to know him like that, you know. And he's also very trustworthy, I think. Loves food. He can talk about the next meal when he's eating, you know. He's stuffing his face with pies, and he's like, "What we're going to have at 7 o'clock, you know." You're like, how can you talk about that now, you know, we're eating. And nothing's really intentional when it comes to the music, other than we try to just have an open mind. You know, the five of us have such a diverse range of influences. It's spooky almost. I personally listen to all styles of music, and what makes opeth, I think, is the mix of music genres. You know, I don't think we have a particularly bluesy part, to be honest. You know. But there's, like in the guitar solos, maybe might be some blues things thrown in there or whatever. But it's never been intentional. It's never been like, oh, we have to widen our sound. Let's bring in some reggae, you know. It just comes down to whatever comes out of my head when I write, and whatever comes out of the other guys' head when they write. As I said, with the different range of influence that we do have, it's impossible for us to just be metal, you know. I would hate it, to be honest. I think what makes us write good metal music is that we listen to non-metal music. It's more likely we come up with a fantastic metal song listening to a Marvin Gaye album, you know. People think, you're just saying that. But I would never be able to write a metal song listening to Power Slave by Iron Maiden, even though it's a great album. But those classic metal albums I got with me, they're in my blood. They kind of find their way into our music anyways. It's just to come up with something unique. I think you need unique influences. I get fed up with myself and the music scene and the band all the time, pretty much. But I've done it for such a long time, and I'm 36 now, so I don't know what else to do. And I know I love it, you know. I can hate it sometimes, but when I come back home off tour, for the first couple of days, you're like, oh my God, that's so nice. Hang out with my kids and my wife and my cats, and go out wash the car and listen to my records and stuff, and it's lovely, but soon enough you start itching, you know. And it's the same with everyone I know who's in the same business. Everybody hates it when they're out doing it, and they love it when they can't, when they're back home. They're just like, I can't wait to get out again, you know. So it's in your blood, you know. It's like a disease. I had a few kind of during my downs, so to speak, thinking like maybe I should just do something else, you know, work in a grocery store, you know. I could have a different job, I think. I would be a fairly good employee, I think. But, you know, this is my calling, so to speak. I don't see any reason why I should stop now, because I still love music too much. I still love, without trying to sound like a complete idiot, I love my own music too. You can't really choose to be a musician, you know, unless you succeed. Sooner or later you're going to have to pay the bills. But it's a big risk. For me, it was, you know, it was a risk. I had a job at a guitar store, and I loved it, you know. I loved working in that store, repairing guitars and stuff like that. But it got to a point where firstly I wasn't really getting along that well with my boss, and I wanted a raise or whatever, which I didn't get. And the band was taking up more and more time, but I wasn't making a penny, nothing. I had nothing in my pocket. I was completely broke. I don't even know how to survive, to be honest, in those days. But I guess I borrowed money from something. Mama. But we got signed pretty early on, you know, and I felt I had my foot in somehow, you know. I was just waiting for something to happen, and you know, I would still have been a musician somehow, even if I wasn't a working musician or professional musician. But one day we just found ourselves in a situation where it's impossible for us to have a regular job, because we're touring all the time. Besides, we're earning, you know. And we got our shit together a little bit once we, around the time of the Blackwater Park album, when we toured for that, we signed with our management, who sorted us out in a way, because prior to then we were just clueless bums, you know. And to some extent I think we still are, but we have, the organization just built up, you know, if you know what I mean. And now, ever since 2000 at Blackwater Park, around that time, we just became more and more professional, and things started going really well for us. And that's when we started living off of the band, pretty much, all of us. But prior to that, we didn't have anything. Nothing. We were screwed, you know.